Let's talk about how to message your users during the 24-hour standard messaging window. As a reminder, this is the window that opens up if someone starts a new conversation with your bot or you re-engage that user in some way and then they respond to that message, which also opens up that 24-hour window. If you need a refresher on this, make sure to watch our video on the newest messenger policies that are in effect as of March 4th, 2020. So let's dive into this example flow that I have for you here. The setup for how to message people is actually the simplest out of all the other ones because of course there's more thought and logic that needs to go into messaging and delivering those messages to your users after the 24-hour window. Again, it's all for the benefit of the user and you and Messenger making sure that businesses aren't spamming users. So let's dive in now to this flow where at the start here, what I'm doing just as a simple example is I've got a field, which as we train here inside of the course is to have fields that track someone's progress throughout your funnels. And so in this specific flow, I've got a field called example field, and I've set the value to started flow. This is going to tell my flow that this user is currently there. Now, once this user engages in an example here, just a lead qualification step, they need to hit continue in order to move on. Once they do that, this example field is going to change to finished step 1, and then they're going to move on, and it would be a little bit of a reiteration there, same steps per step of the qualification until they get to the end, and more needs to happen. So after each of the steps, ideally we're adding abandonment follow-up, right? I'm always preaching this. You have the ability to do this, so why not take advantage of the fact that you can follow up with someone if they abandon the message at any point. And so what we're going to do is set up a smart delay, check where their condition value is at, which means if it's at this value, that means they didn't move on here. And if it's at this value, we're not going to obviously send this follow-up message. And in this follow-up then, if this is true, then we would probably send them back over to this message. So that might look a little bit messy, which is why I didn't pre-do it so that you guys can see. I would actually create a next step and simply drag it over to here. And now we're going to send them back over here. So that's just a very simple baseline example. Now, in regards to delivering these messages to your user, I want to mention that whether your message block is the starting step, which means that's where the flow starts, where your users will first experience this, or not. So in this example, it's not because we're using actions first and then sending people to the message. This first message needs to have a content type, and that's going to be other during the 24-hour window period. And if you have a smart delay happening here as well, then you will also need to add a content type to this flow, which most likely is going to be other, because as long as you don't have an anomaly where maybe this is, reaching somebody close to the end of a 24-hour timer. But if this is a new opt-in point, someone opted in from an ad or some sort of growth tool or messaged your page for the first time, then most likely we definitely have more than 24 hours or at least more than 15 minutes in order to send them this message. So the likelihood of this being delivered should be pretty high in most cases there. Again, unless you're in an anomaly situation where there's more than 24 hours time that has passed since this message has been delivered to the user. Now from there, the reason I wanted to mention that is because you don't need to necessarily tag every message here. This content type shows up inside of ManyChat because in case this message is the first one someone gets or a follow-up, you need to make sure to add this, but you don't need to add this to every single message in the flow. All right, so that is how you message your users during the 24-hour window.